Hi guys, it's Tamra, the Judeo-Christian medium. I apologize again for not having my normal setup, but I just thought we'd focus on this nice rainbow candle. And if you'd like, you can look up and to the left of the candle and you can see the reflection of the Empire State Building, which I think is kind of cool. So I just wanted to tell you all about a really strange dream I had last night. And I talked to Spirit today, my team, and I talked to Jesus about it. So Jesus told me that I had somewhere between like a prophetic dream and a remote viewing dream. He explained it to me that it's like that movie Sliding Doors, where depending on a choice that is made, this could happen. And this is a choice for humanity. So let me tell you guys about the dream. So it's so nice tonight. It's just a relaxing Sunday night. Anyway, okay, so let me tell you about the dream. So in the dream, I was living in Cambridge, Massachusetts, which I've lived in Cambridge before, a long time ago. So it was Cambridge, but it looked different, and it was more in the outskirts of Cambridge. So there was like, I remember specifically there was room for parking, which it is hard to find there. But anyway, I found parking and I knew I was in Cambridge and I was moving into this big house. Now, Jesus said this wouldn't be specifically my life. It was just a scenario. So it wouldn't be my future. It was just, they were showing me a scenario that could happen in the future to humanity if humanity made certain choices. So I was moving into this house and a group of adults lived in this house, but like adult, like from 30s to 50s. And it seemed very normal. And I went in and I remember feeling at the time that it was normal. But when I woke up, I was like, that's not normal. So it was a group of adults and it was like a communal type living, but not like you'd think, like everyone looked kind of normal, but just wore like t-shirts, sweatshirts, jeans, just very basic. But the house was big and it had all these rooms, and each room had like 3 people living in the rooms, and there were mattresses on the floor. But it wasn't like a flop house. Like it wasn't horrible or tacky or like a party house. It was actually kind of the opposite. And there were lots of bureaus and like a big farm table in the kitchen. And so it did have like that New England style. Like the home was like New England style. But there was a plainness to it, like not a lot of artwork. Everything was like functional. There were some like a little bit of farmhouse furniture, but it was old. But the place was clean, and they showed me to my room, and it seemed normal. Like I wasn't like happy or sad. and the people weren't happy or sad. They were like neutral. And they showed me this big salad bowl, like they were making, a nice, sorry for the camera work. They were making like a nice fresh fresh salad. That's hard to say. Like a nice big fresh salad. And I got the impression they made that every day. And it was really hard to explain the feeling. It was like everyone was healthy, but not hippie. And I got the impression that everybody was friendly, but not like friends. And it was it was calm. I don't think people fought. And I guess it was safe. And it was strange. It was like a mixture of men and women, yet like even in each room, but we didn't recognize each other as like potential partners or threats so it was like, I don't know how you would call that, gender neutral, even though we did look like men and women, but everyone was dressed similarly, but not like it was a uniform, but kind of like the way that people are dressing now, like t-shirts with a sweatshirt over it, jeans and sneakers, or sweats and sneakers. Very plain colors, like the brightest color was like the dark burgundy that you see. So in that aspect, not too far off from how people are now, but it was like 10, 20 years from now, if we went down this certain path of, Jesus says it's hard to explain, and without, they don't want to offend anyone. There's certain words that are triggering. And so, Jesus has said with this battle of the sexes that with equality, that we should strive for respect, like respecting the differences in people. So he's saying right now, true femininity and true masculinity is not being respected. So there's some sort of vague middle ground that both sexes are trying to achieve, and this isn't across the board, but it's like a trend. So Jesus said that what we should strive for is equality, meaning that masculinity and femininity are equally respected. And so if you identify as masculine, your masculine traits should be respected. If you identify as feminine, your feminine traits should be respected. And Jesus says right now the culture we do have it twisted, and to prove that, many masculines are being bashed when they behave and this isn't toxic masculinity. This is just regular masculinity, that many masculine traits get looked down on, and then many feminine traits get looked down on. So it's leading to this dream that I had. I was shown what could happen in the future and with the economy, and sort of this idea of just always striving for this leveling of the playing field and equality, and how that one particular path what it could lead to, and over time, like this group, if you could see everyone, they seemed normal, like people you would see walking out on the street today, but the situation was actually very abnormal. No one was married. No one was recognizing each other as in a sexual way. So, but it was very utilitarian. I definitely got the impression that everyone worked and everyone equally paid rent at this home, and nobody owned it. And then the food was definitely healthy. I remember it being like a big salad, and it had really fresh ingredients. So, no one was starving, and people were concerned with their health. But it was just this really bland energy. Like everyone's like, hi, like, or I don't know, like a couple people said hi, like, hey, really, but it wasn't negative, it wasn't positive. I guess I was just shown this completely gender neutral environment. And I actually woke up kind of freaked out, and I immediately prayed and talked to my spiritual team. And oftentimes when I tell my subscribers pray, I don't mean like the typical, get on your hands and knees or I'm not sure, just the typical prayers of each religious group. More like just try to create a relationship and talk to your spiritual team. Jesus said you can always talk to him, and just talk and ask questions and come up with mutual ways to get answers. I'm always doing that, and my team was the one who showed me this dream, and it was just about this sort of in-between gray, safe, no drama life that seemed kind of dull, very egalitarian, and the home was clean and seemed like everyone had chores. Strange though, but I can kind of see it if this trend continues, of like people, this one path. It could be possible if people really started just really continually meeting in the middle, not being feminine, not being masculine, not getting married, not wanting to play gender roles, which they're not. It's not playing. We're actually born with intrinsic instincts. But I feel like when I talk about that, some people would see it as an insult if maybe they were born in the wrong body, or they're not straight. And that's not true at all. Jesus has told me, even in people who not many people identify as just neutral, but for the smaller percentage that do, that's fine too. But this dream was an indication of people not living their true, authentic, intrinsic feelings. But in the dream, it seemed like people had been living that way for so long that it seemed normal. But anyway, I just wanted to explain my dream, and Jesus said that dream could become a reality if we were to go down with, humanity has many paths, but if we were to go down that path, and it's a certain path that a lot of behaviors that are going on right now could lead to, with the one path where being wealthy is bad, having power is bad, dressing well is bad, gender roles are bad, name brands are bad, and marriage is, marriage is just a piece of paper, and why do that, and then even why live with someone, and then it goes to even why date. And we can see that with some groups that are forming, like MGTOW, and there are many channels on the internet, men and women, devoted to not dating, and just taking care of yourself. And not all of these ideas are bad within itself, but Jesus has broken down some of these ideas to me. So of course they showed me that dream. I wasn't happy in the dream. I was just kind of lost and just kind of blah. It's not an existence I would like. So, if you were to break down each thing that sounds reasonable and kind of push it to its limits, to its umpth degree, and blow it out, which is interesting. I used to do improv, and that's what we would do. We would take a character or an idea, and we would say, if this, then what? If this, then what? If this, then what? That was the idea. If this character does this, well, what else do they do? Or, in this world, if this happens, then if this, then what? If this, then what? And I think that's a good way to think when you see an idea being presented. It's a good way to think, the idea of not dressing well, Jesus has talked to me about this. And all of these ideas, but we'll start with that one. Like, so, okay, not dressing well, like who needs it when you can just wear, t-shirts? Well, you have to wear something. And Jesus says, like, people, starseeds especially, come here to be fashion designers, and lots of starseeds like to have, a particular style, and even some reptilians might identify with like a particular style. Some people do want to really dress in t-shirts all the time, and that's fine with them too, especially if they have if you're young or if you have texture issues. But anyway, if you got rid of it all, then basically everybody would be wearing a uniform, and you still go through clothes. You still go through clothes in the same way, and you'd still, those clothes would start to become competitive, even like with certain t-shirts and certain sweatshirts, like we've even seen with certain brands, like Lululemon, or, if you want to wear yoga pants from Target or Lululemon. So there's always going to be that inherent competition. So Jesus said, even living in a house like that, which would seem so neutral, there would still be competition. Like, you can't escape it. So it's going on that idea of, that's just one idea of that house, would be like fashion. And then the food, like, we're already seeing that where, instead of the money that you would have spent to go sit down, like people who work in an office, to go sit down and have lunch in a real restaurant, many people are, if you were to do a price comparison, are spending that same money on a salad. Like, and of course, salads have like good ingredients, but it's like you're paying the same, if not more, than what people your age, when they worked in a business, would pay to sit down and have like a steak dinner, in the past, and how that's happened over time, and like how efficient do we want to be? Do we want to just take tablets instead of food, or do we want to eat salad every day? And I'm not criticizing salad or other foods. It's just, if you put it all together, and I don't know why I decided to focus on the more shallower aspects of the dream, because the big glaring difference is all these people living in a house in these different rooms together. And I mean, it's wonderful that men and women felt safe with each other that way, but Jesus saying it's definitely not human nature to live that way, but it is a conditioned response to, I guess, the trends. And I'm assuming the economy, obviously none of the people in this home could afford their own home. And that was like when you mix up all the trends together, that could be the final result. If you go to each trend, like if this then what, if this then what, if this then what, like if people are really going to grow old and not get married, then they need a place to live. And then if the economy, keeps going the way it does, then it would be, people would have to live together. But then people don't want to live with a mate. I mean, it could get to that point, especially really, I'm going in a circle now, but if you really followed some leaders in dating now who are saying like, it's best not to get married or settle down and just work on yourself. That idea in itself it's not bad in itself. Yeah, you do want to self-actualize. You do want to work on yourself. But, not, I would say I've said this before in my videos, and I have to go on to further make videos about each group I've been shown. Like, Spirit has told me, Jesus has told me that 50% of the population are reptilians, which is not a bad thing. Reptilians do like to work in groups, and so that aspect of living in a group, that kind of makes sense. And but even so, and many reptilians do like to actually work as part of a company for something bigger, and that's great. But even so, it doesn't mean like, reptilian wouldn't inherently want to have a family. But that sort of idea of that house could appeal more to a reptilian that's been conditioned that way, because Jesus has told me that reptilians really respect their conditioning, which is why it's important for that group in particular to have good leadership, because the attitude of the leadership could be more influential, because reptilians are more group-minded. So that's necessary to create, but we could see the pitfalls of that too. So this situation would definitely not be good for star seeds, but a lot of situations that are happening even now are not good for star seeds. So if they were born into this environment, they would just have to adapt, but definitely wouldn't be happy, and wouldn't be nobody would be happy in fulfilling their I've been told that reptilians have more of a life path, and starseeds have more of a mission. So no one would really be fulfilling their ideal, like their needs, or what would be ideal but it could happen with trends and laws mixed together, like certain kinds of government. So, Jesus is saying, be careful of what you wish for, and be careful of what you think might be a good idea. It might be short-sighted. He's showing me, he's showing me and telling me, you know, that idea in China of just having one child, and then down the road there's not enough people to take care of the society. And he's saying there's a lot of that going on right now, how people are being taught to be the same and do the same types of jobs, that there are many jobs that are slipping through the cracks. And worldwide, our infrastructure needs work. We need masculine jobs. We need women to have children to carry on the population. Yes, in some areas there is some overpopulation, but worldwide, in many areas there's a population shortage. So and then there's a shortage. There's too many people doing the same career and doing it for too long, and there's a lot of unhappiness that doesn't. They're saying, hey guys, trust us that we made you perfect. If people could try to fulfill their destiny and their needs without stepping on others' toes, and people supported each other, and a lot of it is about honesty, and this is where hardcore starseeds come in and say, hey, this isn't good, and this is how where reptilians tend to be more adaptable, and what culture has decided is ADHD or autism or weird talents is actually just the difference between being a reptilian and a starseed. And it's really hard to talk about this stuff, guys, because it just tends to come off as, and this is why a lot of people don't address this, and why a lot of people haven't been downloaded this information, because it's really touchy and it's really hard to describe. So many people just aren't even given the information in that way. They're more just messengers. Many mediums are just messengers of their team, and we haven't all really been given the information that our team is us, that we are part of the team, and we came here, and when we go back we will be part of that team, that we're actually part of the mission. Because it sounds so highfalutin, and it sounds like the stuff that people don't like that I'm better than you. And I've been told many times that no, everyone just has their mission, and right now is a big time for reptilians. A lot of this has to do with reptilian leadership and leveling the playing field, and trying to make everyone more alike, and trying to make it sound like it's fair. But we have to keep in mind that the reptilian leadership they're not going to live that way. The people in power will not be living in big homes with 3 people in each room eating a big bowl of salad and working, and no, they're not going to be living that way. They're just, I got this impression that people just had these regular jobs all making around the same amount of money. And that is not to say that, there needs to be a lot of improvement in labor and who makes what in this, but it was just one tract that, one sliding door that could happen, that with a bunch of ideas that sound good, and that I've had to discuss with my team, because I, coming from my background, being a Massachusetts Democrat and supporting like the Kennedys, and then Democratic people after that, and being an artist, and working for a large corporation, and doing acting and stuff like that. I was so entrenched in my own stuff, in my own, me being on the spectrum and having ADHD. I was so entrenched in adventure and fun and performing and comedy and having a good time that I just always naturally voted Democratic and was just like, yay for everything, like equality, this, that, and lots of trendy new ideas and new spiritual ideas and stuff like that. And I've been corrected on some things, and a lot of the correction is that some of these ideas coming down the pike are not in our best interest, because it's not the highest minded people, intellectually, spiritually, creatively, that are making the decisions. So they're not the best decisions per se. Some of these ideas are good. They just need to be more well thought out, with that idea of like, if this then what, if this then what, like not being short-sighted and being more well researched, and letting people who have genius and are experts but also have good morals, letting those people lead us, and leading ourselves too, because I'm being told again, JFK is here. I'm being told again, JFK said to me when he came, none of our political ideologies will work unless the public follows them. So that's why we have, some smaller countries that seem to run well, not perfectly, on socialism that would not work in the United States. First of all, it being so massive, and each state being different, and different cultures. That alone, the socialist values would not work right now. with everything that's going on. But anyway, I had that dream. I woke up really disturbed, and I was hoping it was just a dream, but it is a reality that could happen. And Jesus has told me if that would happen, it wouldn't be everybody, because it was in the United States. It was in Cambridge, and I was younger than I am now. I wasn't going into it as me, my age. I felt like I had maybe was like in my late 30s. And it wouldn't be everyone, because certain religious groups, like you definitely said, like especially like Jewish people, Hasidic Jewish people, like a lot of people would be actually sort of going off into groups like people who weren't, like Jewish people who weren't Hasidic. This will be an example. Like Jewish people who were not Hasidic would not want to be living this way, so they might become like more Jewish, which is interesting. And Jesus is saying like groups would be like sectioning themselves off due to culture, religion, background. So it actually would be creating more of a division. And this group that would be like living in a house like this would be sort of like your just average American kids from generations of like middle class, upper middle class. That's how this would sort of go down the pike. So it wouldn't be your really like Ivy League kids per se. There might be a little bit in school acting that way. So this kind of thing would unify certain groups, certain like, and it would be all colors though, but it would be like more of a mentality. It would be the majority, but some people would see this and be like, absolutely not. Like, for instance, it could be like Muslim Americans and be absolutely not. I'm gonna go live in a Muslim community and wear burqa, but go get married and stuff like that. So there would be like a lot of those decisions being made. Anyway, this is just I'm not saying that this is going to happen. It's just could happen. It's one path. And speaking of like religion and sacred, I'm going to be making more videos on each part of life. Like I'm going to be making a video on sacred sexuality, and of course I'm going to be making I've got to get started on these videos describing more in depth of like reptilians, Pleiadians, Arcturians, and tall whites. And before I go, I'm going to wrap this up, but Jesus has shown me a lot of what gangs, like if you've been watching my videos, gangs and their movements, and a lot of the things he showed me, I saw come to pass. He started showing me things in like 2019, a lot of the crazy crimes that I've seen have come to pass. And he started telling me about a trend that I briefly mentioned about the crimes going into really sacred areas like churches, synagogues, hospitals, just places where you really feel safe, the beach, um, ballparks, um, funerals, weddings. Just guys, please be careful. There's all these crazy trends. There's a weird sort of darkness now, and it followed the energy of the riots, the pandemic, the BLM movement, the defund the police movement, and it's all just coming to a weird head, mixed with the internet and the gangs and the tentacles and the gangster lifestyle, and amongst other, don't want to just pick on them, amongst other weird, it's like things are coming to a head. So just please be careful out there, and expect the unexpected. In any way you can protect yourself, your personal safety, it would be really a good idea to have a plan with you and your friends, your family, whoever you're going to be around. Just try to go through a scenario like, hey guys, if we were carjacked, what would we do? Or if we were at an amusement park and this happens, what would we do? Like, sorry, I'm moving the camera. I'm sort of closing my eyes, picturing scenarios. But anyway, I didn't mean for it to be this long, but I just hope this helps, and try to think of ideas that are going around in political movements, and just try to think them through and think about the end result of decisions being made, and like how you feel about that. And remember, Jesus is saying there's generally more than, if there's a problem, there's a lot of small things that can be done to solve the problem. Like, he's bringing up meat. So, this movement that meat is causing the environmental crisis, and the way that some meat is being processed in the United States, especially in some other countries, yeah, it is causing environmental concerns, but that can be changed. But there are many people who don't eat meat and are using religious reasons, and Jesus is saying no, like they actually created certain animals for us to eat, and certain people need that more than others. Many people don't do well eating grains and sugar, so but generally the people who don't want people to eat meat are people who don't need it, but that's just like, they're just choosing one thing because it's something that their body doesn't need. So like each thing that could cause like an environmental concern needs to be looked at, like how to do it better, not just shaming, finger pointing, and stopping the thing. So I hope this makes sense. It's It's too much to uncover, but these are just my talks with Jesus and my talks with my team. I don't want to put like that onto you. I just, this is my channel. This is what I hear. And I'm always getting more information and changing with that information. So just wanted to share my weird sort of dystopian, I guess you could call it, dream. That wasn't quite a horror dream, but was weird and uncomfortable for me. And anyway, I hope you guys have a good Sunday night. And oops, weird camera work. I'm actually just filming on my phone. So anyway, I'm just gonna wrap it up, guys, and have a great night, and I will be on soon. All right, my team and Jesus, they're saying that they love you. Have a good night.